Here I am, my American family. It's Leon C. back again for another video for you, my wonderful family. And what I want to talk about is going to be a very interesting subject today. As you notice, it's called the facts of life. So we're going to keep it very basic and simple as I always do, where you can have a better understanding as to my angle and where I'm coming from to assist you in empowering you. As always, my idea is to take the lid off of your limitations. My idea is to take the governing unit off of your life, which is usually considered as misinformation or misguided parameters or thinking of your lost tenacities. So we're going to be able to expand our minds together and to grow into a better state of being and spirituality. First of all, you must learn and understand to listen when people are talking to you. There are some advisors who are considered as in the form of coaches in the internet structure or the YouTube instructor. Just because they called a coach, that doesn't mean they're not giving you good advice. Just because they called a coach doesn't mean you have to not listen to what they're saying. They're still giving you good advice. You see, advice means you have an overstanding of a situation. You have an option to think here or there. And it gives you a wider variety to peruse within whatever situation that you may succumb. One of the issues that we are having is that we're having a hard time understanding that the root of all evil is not the devil. The devil is not the root of all evil. That's what you've been taught in your churches. The root of all good is not God. That's what you've been taught in your churches. The root of all good and evil is man. That's you. That could possibly be me. That could be most of the establishment which are in place. Whenever you look at it as a devil complex, you begin to devoid of yourself of any possible idea that it could be something that you are responsible of or that someone else is responsible of. Behind a devilish infrastructure is a man. You could say a human or a person. Behind every good force, there was a person involved. You know, it amazes me how in some churches we always thank God for when something happens. We always thank whatever deity that we worship for something that happens, but usually it's not the deity behind it. It's either a person there that was inspired to help you, to promote you to get to where you need to be. Those misconceptions throw our minds off. See, I have a problem with one thing, and that is sometimes we don't understand where the limit is. I get trouble when I think about how we have a NASA space program that spends millions of dollars per year to do research on planets and other explorations that have nothing to do with you at home, or even to just erect satellites that cost more than your house or whatever lifestyle that you have per year, while your children starve, or while we are suffering here in America with very simple everyday tasks that does not require the complexity of technology, but just simple thinking. I have a trouble when we create devices that are used for underwater exploration to try to figure out the sea life of seals or whales and sharks and fish that pretty much don't have a lot to do with you and your human life and structure. Yet we are able to spend billions of dollars or just millions of dollars per year on these projects that have nothing to do with your human evolution. It has nothing to do with your struggles at home. It does not solve the broken family at home. It does not solve the big question mark of humanity and how America can move forward to be empowered. I have a trouble when we talk about how we need to invest money in these schools, $3 million in school projects and school technology and laptops and computers, but yet we are still in a country that is fulfilled with broken homes. That is a stigma of the success rate here in America. I have a problem with that. I have a problem with seeing babies in the condition of families who barely have enough to provide for that child, yet you would say depend on the Medicaid system or depend on the government program systems of assisting them, much less the psychology that the children are not being evaluated upon, that even the parents are not being subsidized or being motivated to build themselves in a society that actually cares about them. That's not to say that we don't need to build on technology. That's not to say that we don't need to discover other avenues of the world and life. That doesn't mean that we need to stop our development of comprehending things. But what I understand is we've gone too far as humanity. That's just true. We're doing too much. We are overly encumbersome when it comes to movements, when it comes to ideas, when it comes to exploration. How are you going to focus on things outside of the home, but your home is a total wreck? It's a total wreck. It's a mess. Now, I comprehend that what you're going to have to comprehend is this: there are leaders and there are followers. Yes, there are people who live their life to be the forerunners, and there are people who live their life just to be the supporters and to be the ones sitting in the passenger seat, to follow instead of lead. There is a significant truth to what people say on the internet. There's a significant truth when you hear coaches telling you something, when you hear any of these lectures or people who are telling you something. There's some truth to that. There's some truth to what they're saying. They are telling you something that matters. Most times, like a person like myself, I'm not getting paid to do what I do. I do this because I feel like the knowledge that I have and the experience that I have may be useful to one of you out there that can give you the strength that you need to go higher. But the thing is, you got to learn how to love yourself. And here in America, we just don't love ourselves. We love ourselves to the degree to where we allow people to tell us who we are. We allow people to tell us how far we can go in our life and how far our success rate may be based on our conditions. But I'm here to tell you something as Morpheus, okay, that you got to realize that the structure of America is mostly based on fear and mostly depends on your failure and mostly depends on your powerlessness. Because when you are powerless, as I always say, somebody else is going to be stronger because you are powerless. But what you must comprehend is this: just as if bad is rendered a negative result, good behaviors can open up doors as well. Being a good stewardess can open up doors for you as well. Having a very decent mindset to yourself. A lot of times people think that being a good guy isn't going to help you in this world. A lot of times people think that saying the right thing or speaking the truth doesn't do anything but get you in trouble, right? That's not necessarily true. Because what happens is, if you think that having good behavior isn't going to get you anywhere, then you begin to feel hopeless. You begin to think that there's no point in doing that. You begin to think that there's no chance that you can succeed by having good behavior. But that's wrong. Because just as bad is rewarded, good can be rewarded as well. Like, for example, as I told you in one of my other videos, that I have tested out Ferraris, okay? It wasn't because I had the money. I didn't have to pay the money. It did not come out of my pocket. It was because I was in the right place at the right time with the right attitude, with the right perspective. When you have an open-mindedness to think with clarity, and your idea is not malicious, when you are out of place with yourself, where your production is not that of counterproduction, but to produce something that is proper within the environment or yourself, then you begin to receive the fruits of that labor. So because I had the right mindset and I had the right intentions, like for example, let me give you an example. Let's just say I meet a famous person that's very much in the Hollywood industry, or very much, very, very well known in the atmosphere, right? And everyone else, when they see them, they want their autograph. They want to chase them and, oh, you're so and so, and they want to roll down the window, and they want to, they want to scream to that person, or chase that person by the heel straps. Okay. What that does is, not only does it make that other person, yeah, of course you want a fan. You want a fan base. Yes, it feels good for people to acknowledge you because you're famous or you're well known. But it also shows just how much of a low confidence that you are as a person, because what makes you different than that movie star? I told you this channel is for you, to empower you. You got to always remember, everything I say is actually to uplift you. So think about what I'm saying. When the student appears, the teacher, when the student asks questions, the teacher appears. Okay? What makes you different than anybody who's out there making their millions or their billions, or they're popular, or they CEOs, or they have a badge of some type of authority? What makes you different than them? What makes you think? See, in my perceptions is this: I should not be getting their signature. They should be getting my signature. As a matter of fact, we should be exchanging signatures with each other. Because what makes them different from me, besides them being popular? You understand? Why would I need to rush up to them because they're well known or because they're popular? What difference does that make? Because they haven't paid my bills, okay? I don't have to live with them. You understand? They're not keeping my light bill going. They didn't buy my car. All right? And they did not create this channel. I created this channel for you. You understand? And actually, you created this channel because you have inspired me to do this. And it makes me feel good that I'm able to help people with the information that I know. But they did not inspire that. You understand? So while they're in their mansions, you understand, why they have their lifestyle that seemingly may be at a good stream, because everybody has their issues. Trust me, a lot of famous people and those who are actually pulling in the resources that normal people like you and I would like to have, they have their set problems too. And trust me, being rich is not easy. Trust me, that's a very difficult task to be in. But it can be done. But the thing is about that is, that's their circle in their life. But what will make them, to me, as admirable, where I have to chase them and give them honors as if they're God, or if they're your Jesuses that y'all believe in? See, as Morpheus, you must understand something, that there is a person within you that you don't comprehend yet, that I am speaking to. I may be speaking to the physical you, but I'm talking to the soul within you. I'm talking to that little bitty thing that's inside you that you've been ignoring this whole time. I want that person within you to rise up and be the God that you already are. Not the God you need to be seeking, but the God that you need to raise up that's within you. Okay? What makes you any different than anybody else? When you feel as if you need to chase somebody else's skirts, when you need to feel like you need to go get somebody else's signature, when you feel like you need to praise somebody else, your confidence level is this low. You are putting yourself at a lower pedestal. That's no different than blue pill guys who feel as if the women who they need to get their number from, or they need to chase, okay, that their love tackle is a lot more valuable than his love shaft. You understand? When you got to remember, the relationship is an exchange. His love shaft is just as valuable as her love tackle. There's no difference. But what have happened is his psychology have been decreased and demented so low where he felt as if he needed to, and by the programming of the society, praise her and put her on a pedestal. That's why in certain marriage pictures, that's why in certain photographies, they have the man kneeling down on one knee and asking her for marriage. That's a form of servitude. That's a form of him putting himself lower and raising her up. But you got to remember, she will be nothing without him. A king, listen, a king is nothing without his people, without his kingdom. A queen is nothing without a king. You understand? That's not to say that you can't focus without it. That's not, it's like a person who's sick. That does not mean that you can't live without that. That doesn't mean that you can't function the kingdom without that person. That doesn't mean that everything's just going to shatter and destroy itself. That just means that it's off balance. You understand? And it's not right. And once you live on something that's not balanced, then I would say that you would have the American people an example today with all these movements and these correlations with the feminine movements and, you know, LGs and the rest of that stuff that's going on, which is completely unnecessary. Okay. But what I have noticed whenever that happens, whenever there's somebody who's famous or someone who's very popular and well known coming to town, okay, they have a very big fan base of people. What I see in my perception, I see how to put it. I see a person and I see a massive crowd of low frequency, low confidence people. People who are willing to be slaves. People who look at themselves as lower than that other person. Now, there's nothing wrong with you raising yourself and saying, I'm somebody special, because you need to say that to yourself. There is a limit to how far that you will have self-appreciation, but it goes too far, whereas you negate yourself completely and you start chasing someone else. You see what I mean? They should not need to have a big entourage. They should not need to have full bodyguards because morons want to chase after them and get a signature. They got to keep knocking these dummies off. All that does is give those famous people fodder, if they are aware and they thinking, to look at you and say, oh, you're just a common person, and oh, pat you on the head like a doggy. Good job. Okay, really good job. Good job. You're doing good. But you're just as special as they are. As a matter of fact, they wouldn't be where they are today if it wasn't for the entire crowd like you putting them on that pedestal. And it's no pun, it's no issue with Janet Jackson or anybody else like what's Justin Timberlake or any other type of famous person, or Chris Brown. You know, when he came into town to Indianapolis, and I visited Indianapolis at that time. And they said that they were coming into town, so they made preparations for them to come into town to sing or to do their concert. And so a lot of people was riled up for it. A lot of people was really chasing after getting to see that person in person, which that's nothing wrong with. But they raised up these people to be an idol. You know, you're praising idols. You're praising people who are just like you to be idols. But you're forgetting that you are also an idol. You are the reason why I made this channel is because to me, you are an idol. You are an important person, and I want you to realize that. So when people such as ourselves and coaches are telling you something, you need to listen to what we're saying. The idea of America is that our focus is in the wrong place. That's why I brought up the NASA. That's why I brought up these devices. That's why I brought up why we are focusing on all the wrong things, when the main important energy of the world is people. The main important energy of America is America's people. Where we are creating new technologies, and I don't want to get his name wrong, but I think his first name starts with Billy, and I think it's Billy Graham. He had one last speech before he before he left this chapter of his life. And he said this, and it wasn't specifically in his words, but I'm going to tell you my interpretation of what he said and how he said it. He said that the American people or the world have created so much technology and so much scientific breakthroughs, but yet we still can't comprehend how to deal with each other. We still have famine. We still have destruction. We still have death. We still have crime. We still have the ignorance that we have today. When he said that speech, that touched me, because I began to realize that that man knew what he was talking about, even though he was a preacher of his religious belief. But you can have your own religious belief, you can have your own ideology, and still be speaking or saying something that's true based on getting rid of, because that's not religion what he was talking about. He was talking about facts. He was talking about something that's not biblical. He was talking about something that's going on now, where we are able to try to send drones to the moon. We are able to create these medicines that can kind of heal depression, which actually it just makes you feel like you're not so depressed by stalling your neurological centers to focus on something else. Yeah, I know a lot about that. Anyway, even though we have had these innovations from year to year, now we have houses that are pretty much connected to your smartphone, okay? But yet we still have the same issues that we've been having since day one, and that's man cannot get along with man. And I'm going to tell you why. As Morpheus, my task is to give you those answers. My task is to give you that power. That way you won't leave this earth with the question mark. Therefore, you won't come into those situations where you're like, I can't figure it out. I'm going to tell you why, as I've told you before. Because our focus is not right here. Our focus is somewhere else. I met a famous person once upon a time. You see, that's why I told you good behavior. Good behavior does render good things. But while everybody else was camped around this person and, ooh, let me get your signature. Ooh, 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 oh, come on. Oh, what? I was one of the only persons in that room or that area that was looking somewhere else, and I was minding my own. I was like, okay, yeah, that's nice. Oh, that's so-and-so. Oh, okay, cool. I got things to do. And I'm going to tell you why. Listen. It's called self-love. When you love yourself, you know that you are already an important person. That's not to say that you're not jealous. No, trust me. Trust me. They made it. That's fine. I'm behind them 100%. It would be nice if I was there. That's good. You know, I'm behind them, and they did hard work to get there, and they did their sacrifices, and they worked, and they did their singing, they did their performance. That's good. You know, that's for them. But still, listen to me. At the end of the day, when you go home, when you are eating your own food, when you're at your own dinner table, when you are taking care of your kids, when you have to work your 9-to-5 job, when you are the one sitting on the couch watching them on TV, you're not responsible for what they are doing on TV. You're responsible for what you are doing in your own destiny. If they got it, then you should try to get it too. And you don't have to get it their way, but you try to reach your own destiny. So when you start loving yourself, you'll start asking questions. When you start loving yourself, you will listen to videos like this and coaches and other videos to give yourself empowerment. Because I'm going to tell you, as your friend and as your brother, your empowerment isn't always going to come by somebody with the badge, because you got to remember, the Matrix is real. And with the Matrix, there are all kind of Agent Smiths that are camped around there. Their job is to take money and power from you. That's their job. So when you go to agents, just imagine Neo going to Agent Smith to ask him for help. Agent Smith is going to beat him down, or at least try to clamp him down some type of way and keep him from evolving. Because if Neo evolves, Neo becomes the glitch in the computer system by hacking the program and expanding the liberation of its people by taking the brainwashing mechanism off of them, the blinders off, so you can see. Do you understand? So to do that, you got to remember everything that seems to be true by those who have badges or say I'm a doctor or I'm an MD or I've been a professional in the field for so long or I've been here and there. They will be the first ones to lie to you, and I'm going to tell you why. And I'm not saying all of them, I'm telling you generally. Because they're going by a book. Listen, as Morpheus, I'm telling you, life is not in a book. You cannot study real life. You can study the concepts of life. Okay? You can gain a theory of life. You can gain a comprehension of its material ideas, but you can't comprehend everything that life is about because it's not in a book. Life is within yourself and it's within your experience that books cannot teach. And you want my evidence? Then I shall give it to you. Because life evolves. It evolves. You understand? Books remain the same. That book, those numbers, those words aren't going to change. It doesn't change unless you're just doing it every 5 seconds that you come up with an idea, and that's impossible to do. So you have to study day to day. You understand? But it's still not within your circulation of real life. So therefore, when people are talking to you, I advise you to comprehend that most people aren't listening to Leon C. like you are listening. A lot of people are sitting down in front of television watching late night shows, or they're watching Netflix. They're watching, listen, they're watching things to entertain them. And that's the point. And now, eventually, slowly, if you continue to listen to this video, these videos that are made for you to empower you, you're going to begin to comprehend why I am doing this bit by bit. Because listen, I don't want you to be entertained by, listen, you should not be sitting there being entertained by the world. You should turn that around and you start doing and being active. What type of life do you have sitting down on the couch letting the TV watch you? Why not flip that around and make the, why not flip that, I mean, or you can say you watching the TV. Why not flip that around and make the world or other people watch you? And what I mean is learn from you or understand from you. Are you learning from the world and you using that information to empower yourself? Just like some people have a thing about video games for some kids, but what is the point of something entertaining you versus you entertaining them? When you're using a book or reading, you are actually the conductor. When you're playing a video game, believe it or not, you are actually the conductor. You are in control of your thinking faculties and your subconsciousness. When you are sitting still and you're letting people like movies and Netflix entertain you, there's lots of information colors and synaptics and neurological silent what do you call that, silent sentinels that you're not comprehending is being sent into your subconscious mind. And you're just sitting there because what happens is there's a part of your mind that shuts off. Your consciousness back there begins to shut down because you are allowing them to dive into your subconsciousness and you're not doing anything. You're inactive. You're not using it because you're absorbing. You're in a learning stage and you're not learning much. You're just being entertained. You're just laughing at whatever's happening on TV. So you become a tomato. So therefore, you're not using your faculties. But when you reverse that, first of all, I want to fix that. That becomes a problem with your thinking. That's why you can't hardly remember anything. That's why you act out things and don't know where it come from. That's why you say things you don't even know where you got the information from because you sat there and you allowed the television or Netflix and other negative, what do you call that, theater or theatrics be bombarded into you. But when you are active, you are controlling your subconsciousness. You are using your thinking faculties. You're using your frontal and your rear lobes. You are using your memory. Of course, we know the frontal lobe is about talking and functioning and all that type of stuff. But when you are actually active with things, when you are playing a game, when you are doing, when you are teaching, when you are focusing, you're not allowing yourself to be bombarded with misinformation. You understand? Nothing is being brought into your subconsciousness. You are using your consciousness to be able to create an effect. So therefore, you actually become smarter. Children that succeed in school usually are the ones who have not been sitting in front of the television. They've been sitting there playing with blocks. They're sitting there drawing and coloring. They're sitting outside playing with snails and throwing rocks on the sidewalk. Those children are usually the ones that have a very higher success rate, because they're not being entertained, and nor are they becoming a tomato for the misinformation of your television set or your television screen. They are using their faculties. They are learning by touching and feeling. They're learning their vocal and their English. They're learning how to remember with their subconsciousness because they're using it. And I told you before, when you don't use it, what happens? It begins to shut down. So that's the same as you beginning to learn how to love yourself. When you learn how to love yourself, you become active with the environment. You become active with yourself. Whereas you don't have time to be chasing everybody else. You only have time to focus on you and your own empowerment. That's not to say that whoever is famous coming to town that you don't give them recognition. What I'm saying is you got to remember that you are just as important, because they bleed like you. They have their struggles like you. They have their whole okay, let's go further. I can't keep talking about this. Let's go further. It's like this. There are 3 types of people in the realm of real intelligence and movement. Okay? The first person, who's the lowest, a low-minded person, talk about other people. The second tier person, who's an average-minded person, talk about situations, talk about events, talk about what's going on in the news, talk about what's going on in the world. They just talk about it. The highest third tier person, who's not average, who's probably a part of the 1%ers who are rich, are part of the ones who are, you could say, successful, a part of the ones who are bosses, a part of the ones who love themselves, a part of the one who's not in the crowd, a part of the ones who's not chasing famous people, a part of the ones who don't care if you get a signature by somebody or not, an autograph, a part of the ones who don't care about getting tickets to a Super Bowl game unless they really have the time to do it. Those type of people on this third tier, they talk about solutions. Do you comprehend this? Those are the 3 type of people. Get around those people. Do your task at home. Do your homework from Morpheus, aka Leon C. Watch the people around you. You're going to find all 3 of them. A low thinking person talks about other people and what they're doing. They gossip. Third tier, second tier, again, those are people who only talk about situations, what happened on the news. Okay, what's going on today? Oh, they can just talk about it. That's all. And the third person is the one who's talking about, oh, I don't want to hear that stuff. What are we going to do about it? What's the solution about the situation? The persons who talk about solutions are the ones who are trying to move forward to progression and make something happen. And I hope that you are part of that third tier person who are talking and thinking about solutions. If you are looking at videos like mine, my channel, and others, because you're looking for solutions to your problems, then you're on the verge of being one of those top successful people in your life. You're beginning to open up your path of becoming the superhuman that you are already naturally supposed to be. And the point why there's such a big system and movements, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the feminist movement in my next video, and there's no pun to the feminist people, it's just we got to get real. I need to talk about it from my self-experience to give you a bigger idea as to why it's a problem. Okay? Anyway, the more you start looking at these types of video, the more you begin to realize that you yourself have the potential to do great things. So therefore, you are raising yourself up. So there are a lot of systems that are in place to keep you down from doing that. Because listen, what slave master wants you to be smarter than the slave master? Think about that. What church, listen, what church or religious organization want you to already have a relationship with your God where they can't tell you nothing? What person who wants control over you cannot control you any longer once they realize that you already have self-control? See, you got to understand how some officers work. Officers have a job just like everybody else do. They are human just like you are. They have their fears and their struggles too. But you got to remember, they are attacked every day. They got to deal with mindless people who do bad behaviors every single day. So the only reason why most times there's already a general rule, but most times the only time you're going to have a scuff with them is if you're acting out, if you have bad behavior. I have to use this as an example to give you an understanding. You can be around 20 officers at one time, and they're just talking and just enjoying themselves and, drinking coffee or whatever else. And you're minding your own business. You're living your life as you should, right? So if you're doing good things based on your normal behavior. But just imagine standing there and you're doing something dangerous, or you're acting out very irate, or you look like you're going to grab something, or you just looking very out of place and odd. So what had happened is you bring that negative attention to yourself, to your bad behavior. You see, and a lot of people don't comprehend that. Most times it's not the nature of the society. It's not the systems that are in place. It's how you deal with the systems. So when you are empowered within yourself, not only do you comprehend, it's not just having rights. Okay, that's one thing. It's not just having the free will to speak and to do whatever you need to do. That's another thing. But you need to rise higher than the stigma that's in the environment. You need to rise higher than the fools who want you to think down here. Like some people say, oh, I'm so scared of cops. I just don't want to be around. They're going to shoot me. They're going to hurt me. That's low thinking. Just because there is an issue with someone else, that doesn't mean that's going to happen to you. Look up. It's called vicarious atonement. If you're nervous about something, you need to check yourself. You understand? It's called vicarious fear. And when you know that you have confidence in yourself, if you're doing like you're supposed to, what are you worried about? So again, it's that tier system where you got low frequent thinking people, where you don't comprehend even your environment. You want to know why? Because we have lost our instincts. That's why. Because we have lost our sense of humanity, where we don't even realize. And again, common sense has lost its common ground, because there hasn't been a common ground, because it's been distorted by misinformation. So what you have to depend on is your knowledge of understanding the situation for what it is by respecting nature. And that's how we're going to rise up here in America. Understanding nature. When you understand the nature of the system, understand the nature of the species in which you're dealing with, understand the nature of the job, understand the animal. It's like a rabid dog. If you see this dog that's filming out the mouth and they barking and getting ready to chase after you, nature is telling you, you better get on your hind legs and get the hell out of there. You understand? That's nature telling you. But what would it be for excuse my French, because this is PG channel, dumbass, you understand, to see this dog barking with teeth, and it's getting ready to pounce at you, to walk up to the dog and say, oh, good doggy. Oh, that will be it. You understand? Because we don't comprehend nature, and a lot of our systems are made that way, where because you don't comprehend its nature, you end up putting yourself in destruction. And that's because we've been misled by misinformation. That's why I told you in the beginning of this video, you have to listen when people are talking. We are saying things for a reason, to help you, to raise you up. And if you don't understand what we're saying, do the research for yourself. And that way you can escalate the person that you are. And one of the main things that you need to comprehend that you are already generally a very special person. You are already important. Like I said before, I made this channel because I made it for you, because I think that y'all special people, and I want the American people to rise up. I want y'all to be what y'all supposed to be. Not what you used to be. That was good then, but to be better now, because we have to, because there's a ceiling that is causing people to act out. There's a ceiling that why the criminology is expanding is because we're losing the tethers that used to bring American people together. We're losing our value, and that value is because we're losing self-respect in what we are as human beings. We're replacing ourselves with computers. We're replacing ourselves with technology. We are replacing ourselves with science. Yes, the physical body is a part of science. Yes, most of everything we do is a part of science, but everything cannot be explained by science, and nor can we get rid of what the real God, the real essence of the universe has created, us as simple people. So when you make things over complex and you add more unnecessary systems to something that's already working, you end up breaking it. You got a candy bar that's already sweet and it's good enough, and it's a good enough snack for you. Then you got to go in your you got to go in your cupboard and sprinkle more sugar on an already chocolate Snickers bar. You're going to make yourself sicker, and then you wonder why you get diabetes and all this filth that's coming down, because we don't realize you already have goodness within yourself. You already have the potential to do great things, but because you don't love yourself, because you have low self-esteem, because you chasing other people, you don't rise up and bring yourself to a higher place. You're not willing to learn and study. You're not willing to listen to what people are saying. But you got a friend in me. You have a family in me. And as y'all call me Morpheus, I am here to give you the red pill, because I want you to see what real life has to offer and what you can offer yourself. And there will be more to come. This is Leon C. I will be back for you.